folks, and welcome back to another episode of Steelbook Hunting in CEX, the series in which I head to 2 brand new CEX stores every episode on a hunt for bargain steelbooks to add to my ever-growing game collection. Here's the thing with Steelbook Hunting in CEX, you never know what to expect and you never know what store I'm going to be hitting up next. So if you enjoyed this episode, please hit that like button and please subscribe, as I put new videos out every Saturday live at 5, as well as bonus content throughout the week, and I really want you folks along for the ride. And if you ever miss an episode of Steelbook Hunting in CEX, fear not, I'll link them all down below in a playlist. Now, on to our first store. First off, this time we are Steelbook Hunting in Harlow CEX, and it really does not take long to find our first steelbook of the day. That is because, in fact, there is a steelbook in the window. Here we have the collector's edition of Mafia 2 for the Xbox 360, and honestly, what happened, I forgot this was in the window, but let's head inside and see what other steelbooks we can find hiding in store. We'll start our hunt this time in the PlayStation 5 section. Now remember, when I am Steelbook Hunting in CEX, I am looking for the bargains. And honestly, a lot of these PlayStation 5 steelbooks are probably going to get cheaper in the future, such as this one, the Resident Evil 4 steelbook. So I definitely want this one, but I'll be heading to get it in the future. Heading on to the PlayStation 4, and this is where you can normally get some absolute bargains. So, as a general rule, with some exceptions, as we all know by now, most steelbooks are the same price in CEX as they are for the standard version of the game. That's why I'm looking here at Destiny, because that's a super cheap game, and if I can find a steelbook, it'll be a bargain. Here we have the Dirt 4 steelbook. I did pass on this one, as I do already have it in the collection. It is a very, very nice, very, very vibrant orange steelbook. Moving on though, let's try and find our next steelbook of the day. Another copy of Dirt up there, this time the normal version. Scanning around here looking for our next steelbook. Sadly, nothing so far. Not even a Fallout steelbook. That's quite a common one. What you find, Steelbook Hunting in CX, you start to recognise the same steelbooks over multiple stores. There are some steelbooks which you just seem to see all the time. And unfortunately, the Killzone Shadowfall one, even though it's one of the cheapest steelbooks that CEX sell, I still haven't managed to find that one, which is a real shame, because at £2.50, that would be one of the cheapest steelbooks that CEX sell. Because that's the thing, with Steelbook Hunting in CEX, you can get some absolute bargains, and that's what I'm really looking for when I'm looking through these sections for steelbooks. The games that are so cheap, because normally the lowest price you're going to get a steelbook for roughly on eBay is around £5. So essentially any steelbook that I can find in any section here under £5 is a really good find. But here is the thing, whenever you go into any CEX store, there is no guarantee there will be any steelbooks, and there is no way to check to see if they have any steelbooks in store. But that's just what it is. When Steelbook Hunting in CX, you have to roll the dice. Moving on from the PlayStation 4 to the PlayStation 3. And sadly, all around the country, these PlayStation 3 sections are getting smaller and smaller. But during the era of the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3, there were so many steelbooks for so many of the big franchises. And honestly, now could be one of the last chances to pick these up at a cheap price. But unfortunately today, it doesn't seem like we're going to have any luck in the PlayStation 3 section. I guess even because of videos like this one, more and more people are realising you can get these steelbooks for an absolute bargain price. And of course, as they're not making these steelbooks anymore for these consoles, they're slowly disappearing into people's collections. As you can see there, the PlayStation 3 section nicely flows straight into the Xbox 360 section. You can see a lot of Call of Duty games here, which normally you can find some really nice steelbooks. But hiding down here is a steelbook which I see all of the time, but for the price and the condition, I'm going to have to pick up this copy of Turok for the Xbox 360. I think this game is an absolute banger, and a game that not a lot of people appreciate. A lot of people overlook this. This is a very solid first-person shooter with some absolutely incredible gameplay, but I think that's all we're going to find here in the Xbox 360 section. As I'm saying, it's getting harder and harder to find the steelbooks for this last generation of gaming, and now is the best time to grab them. Now, in my personal opinion, you are most likely to find steelbooks hiding in the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 section, and luckily the next section we are looking in is the Xbox One section, and unfortunately, so far, it doesn't look like we're finding much, but this is what I love about Steelbook Hunting in CEX. You never know what's just around the corner, and here is a steelbook which I've been after for a long while. Now, I know Gotham Knights hasn't had the best reviews of all time, but would you look at that steelbook? And for just £12 for the steelbook version of this game, Yes, I'm going to pick this one up. I did make a slight error here, but we'll go back to that later in the episode. Carrying it on here through the Xbox One section, and this wasn't the biggest Xbox One section of all time. Unfortunately, the CEX here in Harlow is fairly small and did have quite a limited selection, but we all know it's not about the size of the CEX store, it's about its contents. So that was the Harlow branch of CEX, and we managed to find 2 Steelbooks for the collection, which seems in the series so far to be the average. So let's hope that average continues in our next store. Next up, we're off to Buxton, a town which is infamous not only for my best charity shop find of 2023, but also the craziest thing that has happened to me in any CEX store so far. So I will link both of those episodes down in the description below. Now again, this is a small CEX store, but like I said earlier, we don't judge a CEX store by its size, we judge it by its contents. We'll start our Steelbook hunt this time in Buxton CEX here in the PlayStation 3 section. And for such a small CEX store, this was actually a surprisingly large section, and it had a really good selection of games here. But of course, we are mainly looking for Steelbooks here today. But this is the thing with Steelbook hunting in CEX. Sometimes it can be really hard to see these Steelbooks hiding on a shelf amongst the other games, and sometimes they can be hiding in plain sight, like the Steelbook which is coming up just here in a moment. Wait for it, we have Resident Evil 6 for the PlayStation 3. Now, I did pass on this one as I already have it in the collection and it was missing its slipcover. Sometimes it is hard to know which Steelbook should have these slipcovers, and I suppose knowledge is half the battle when you're Steelbook hunting in CEX. Now, it's not very often you find Steelbooks hiding here in either the GameCube or the original Xbox section, but normally 9 times out of 10, if you do find a Steelbook for the OG Xbox, it is this, the Halo 2 limited edition Steelbook, one that I've had in my collection since launch, and honestly, still to this day, one of the best looking Steelbooks for the Xbox. Sticking with the Xbox, let's move on to the Xbox 360 section, and here we have quite possibly the most common Steelbook which I see for the Xbox 360, BioShock. Now this one, it was in a little bit of rough condition, so obviously I did pass, and of course I do already have that one in the collection, and it is definitely one of the most iconic Steelbooks I think I've ever seen. No idea why we're looking at Brunswick Bowling here, but we'll carry on looking for Steelbooks. Heading down, Call of Duty is normally a very good section to find Steelbooks in, but honestly, I think I've nearly got every single Call of Duty Steelbook just because they are so mass produced. But of course, when it comes to these Xbox Steelbooks, they're getting harder to find. And this is one which I did pick up, even though it's a little bit rough. I have never seen this Resident Evil 5 Steelbook before, and as a massive fan of Resident Evil, I just couldn't leave it behind. Further carrying on the Xbox theme, and we're into the Xbox One section. And honestly, this section was a little bit sparse in here, but hopefully we can still find some Steelbooks for the collection hiding amongst all of these games. Now, so many of these big franchises have Steelbooks, so I just never seem to find. I think I'm missing one Forza Steelbook. I, of course, have the Fallout Steelbook. I'm sure there's multiple Steelbooks for Gears of War. This is one I see all of the time, and I can afford to be picky with the Hitman Season 1 Steelbook just because it is so common. I have picked it up for the PlayStation 4, but yes, honestly, I would pick up the Xbox One variant if the price was right, and of course if the condition was right. Now, this is one of the hardest things about looking for Steelbooks in CEX, is all of the ones that are hiding in slipcases. 9 times out of 10, these will be the standard version of the game, but it's that 1 in 10 chance when you could miss a Steelbook, so I always have to check. Now, we're heading up for the final time looking for Steelbooks here in the PlayStation 4 section, and spoiler alert, unfortunately there was nothing here, but that is the thing when hunting for Steelbooks in CEX. So far in this series, the average number of Steelbooks I find per store to add to my collection is 2. So this time we picked up 2 Steelbooks from our first store, CEX in Harlow, but unfortunately this time we didn't quite meet our average and only found 1 Steelbook for the collection here in Buxton. But it was a Steelbook which I have never seen before, and one which I think is going to get rarer in the future, being Resident Evil 5, so I was very happy to find this one this time for the collection. Now, let's take it back to the games room and take a closer look at these new Steelbooks for the collection. Here we are then, back in the games room from another successful Steelbook hunt in CEX, and we have some more amazing Steelbooks to add to the collection. And first off, from Harlow, we have a Steelbook which I've been after for a long while. This was a bargain when I picked it up at just £10, and this one is actually down to £8 now, which is an absolute bargain. But you may notice on the front of this game, it does say here this is for the Xbox Series X. A console which unfortunately I don't own yet, but I'm sure I will in the future. But I could not pass up this Steelbook as it is a thing of absolute beauty. Just look at this design. This is such a beautiful Steelbook, and honestly, when it comes to Steelbook Hunting in CEX, it normally comes down to the looks, and this one is definitely a real looker. Here is a problem when you are Steelbook hunting in CEX. Sometimes you make mistakes and pick up Steelbooks which unfortunately you already have in your collection, such as this one here, Turok for the Xbox 360. Now, this was an absolute bargain at just £3, and here's the thing, I don't actually know a very good way to track these Steelbooks. I normally use the Game Eye app to track my video game collection, but I don't think unfortunately it tracks Steelbooks. So if you know a good way to track the Steelbooks you already have in your collection, please let me know in the comments down below. This one isn't a great loss, so I'll probably list this one on eBay, and I'm sure I can at least make my money back. Now, the average Steelbooks I seem to find in any given CEX store is normally 2. Unfortunately, this time I did only find 1 Steelbook which I needed for the collection in the Buxton CEX branch, but it is a big one. It is this one, the Resident Evil 5 Steelbook. Now, yes, this one is a little bit rougher, but kind of really aesthetic of this game, it kind of makes it look a little bit cooler. The slipcase is a little bit rough, and the Steelbook does have some damage, but at the end of the day, you can always upgrade this one over time, and as a Resident Evil fan, I definitely wanted to grab this one for the collection. Here we have it then, folks. 2 more Steelbooks added to the collection, and unfortunately 1 duplicate, which I'm sure I will sell quick enough on eBay. But here is the thing, when Steelbook hunting, you never know what you're going to find. So make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and join me next time to find out if I strike out or strike Steelbook hunting in CEX. See you all soon!